So we're all making our YouTube debut. Are we all going to be
Wow.
YouTubers now?
No, I've never been on before. This is great. At least not with my clothes on.
Whoa.
Just kidding. Just kidding. Add a little levity. All right. Tell me when you're ready, Alicia.
All right. It looks like it's trying to, you know, the wheel of death is spinning. So I'll let you know.
Okay.
Okay, so it looks like the wheel is still spinning, but it says we're on YouTube Live, and I'm recording. So I think we should just go ahead and we will do our best.
Okay, great. My name is Paul Smith. I am the board chair for Invent Learning Hub. I'd like to welcome everyone to the May 14th, 2020 board meeting. And I'd like to start the board meeting by going around to have each of our board members check in.
Sure.
Would you like me to do a roll call?
Yes.
Great idea.
Paul Smith is here. Alicia,
Here?
Tyler,
Here.
Natalie,
Here.
Trevor,
Here.
Zachary,
I'm here.
Paul Whitmore,
Here.
Megan,
Here.
Amber, it's see Amber.
Oh, hi.
Cece,
Here.
Kia,
Here.
and Youngbach.
Here.
Did I miss anyone?
All right, so we have a ton on our agenda today. I wanted to first start by introducing Alexander and Monica and Jasmine, who are here with Rise Indy. And I'm going to let them tell you about their organization because they'll do a much better job.
You would do a great job too, Alicia, but thank you so much. We are very excited to partner with Invent Learning Hub and the work that we're leading for Indianapolis students. So RISE is a C3, C4 social welfare organization, and we are committed to exceptional public schools for all students. We believe that the more school leaders are given the autonomy to make quick decisions and implement the best learning model for students, the better off we'll see student outcomes in learning. We noticed that for far too long, there have been disparities in student performance, especially for low income and students of color. And so our work to change that is to make sure that we have strong elected leadership that represents the needs of all students, as well as engaged and informed parents and teachers. So we have several coalitions that we engage with to organize around that work and to make sure that we have a strong policy agenda and strong elected leadership that represents the needs of all students in Indianapolis Center Township. So I am Jasmine Burdett. As Alicia mentioned, I'm the Director of Strategic Partnerships. I also want to allow my colleagues to introduce themselves and just share a little bit about the work that they're leading.
Yeah, I'll go next. I'm Monica Hingst. I'm the Director of Parent Organizing at Rise Indy, and also new to the organization. Some of the work that I'll be doing alongside Alex, who will introduce himself as well, is parent engagement work. So what Jasmine mentioned is like critical work that we're doing. And we also think it's critical that we elevate parent voice and choice in the policymaking process so that we are influencing policy with the voice and the desires of parents in mind. we believe that the best way to actually affect policy too is to bring in leaders at the table who are prioritizing all schools and all students, and that includes charter schools like yourself at Invent Learning Hub. And so we are just going to be spending a lot of time in the next few months just bringing parents on board, educating them on the landscape of Indy and what there is to know and what they might need to know in order to advocate for their kids, and get them participating in elections.
All
And
right.
also too, sorry, Alexander.
All right,
Also
Jasmine.
too, another thing that we do with the schools that we partner with is we're so big on making sure that these interests are heard at every level of government, so state and local. So we engage legislators at the State House to make sure that issues in education are heard and are at the forefront. So one thing we do look forward to in a post-COVID world, whenever we get there, is bringing legislators that have traditionally been opposed to charter schools into the building so that they see learning in action and are able to meet with school leadership, are able to meet with students and administrators to see that it is actually also a public school, which is a wide misconception, but also to see that students are learning at a high bar so that we can engage more and leverage more advocates at the State House. So I just wanted to add that quick part. Sorry, Alexander.
No, you're good. You're good. Thank you so much, Jasmine. So to kind of echo Jasmine's thoughts, we are definitely a students first agenda type organization. And you know, I am working with Monica in the manner that we will definitely be working with parents, because I say this all the time, is parents have the most unique voice in this landscape. They make decisions of where the kids go. They make decisions on what school their kid attends or what school their child attends, I should say, rather than kid. But they also see the development and everything and the effects of sending their children to that school. So really my role here as a district organizer is to teach parents and Monica as well, teach parents how to advocate and how to really speak up for their child's education, because I mean that's the most important thing that it is that can be is, you know, all of us can sit here and talk about how great and how well we're doing, but really the parents really are the ones that matter the most, because they're the ones that we may care about the kids a lot, but they're the ones that care about the children the most. So our role is just to equip everyone that's involved with us with the tools to do more and support their children's schools. So as a district organizer, my role, along with Monica's role, is to just empower parents and families to do the best for their kids.
And Alexander is also a parent.
Yes. Oh,
To be 3.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm also a parent of an 8-year-old, second grader going into 3rd grade this coming fall. So I mean, all this stuff is very, very important to me. I mean, it hits home. Ultimately, you know, my child's education is the ultimate thing that matters to me most. So Jasmine, thanks for reminding me that I'm a parent.
In case you forgot.
Yeah, in case I forgot.
So I know when we met with Alicia last month, I think, or earlier this month, it feels like all the days blend in together. Alicia, you wanted to share more ways that board members can get engaged in the work. So we absolutely welcome your engagement and your partnership in any way. We will have opportunities in the summer for all of our coalitions, board members included, to meet prospective candidates that will be supporting an upcoming 2020 election this year. So that is an opportunity that will be extended to everyone, and we highly encourage you to engage in that. We always have funding opportunities to support our PAC, which will directly support candidates that believe in the mission and align with the mission of supporting all students. So we appreciate your support. We appreciate your partnership and all that you do to support Invent Learning Hub, support Alicia in this work. I feel like everything always comes full circle because both Monica and myself were at OEI when Invent was proposed and approved. So very excited to continue working alongside the school and the students and the communities that you serve in this work. Happy to entertain questions if anyone has any. If not, we are happy to hop off because I know you have a long agenda to get to.
Hey, sorry, Jasmine. I know I'm sorry to interrupt you, but just kind of getting on that on the advocacy side of things. One of the things that we do is we engage parents with advocacy with things such as small as voter registration. And I feel like we would be doing a disservice by not talking about voter registration, because that's the most basic way that parents and families can be involved within advocacy and speak up for themselves is by casting a ballot. So that's one of those things that we really want to empower people to do. So everything that Jasmine said prior to me, including voter registration.
So, well, thank you guys so much for coming and letting us know about this organization. Prior to today, I actually hadn't heard of RISE. So I'm excited that this organization exists. One thing that we have been and will continue to be trying to crack the code on is parent engagement. And I know that, you mentioned that that's a big part of what RISE does in terms of, on one hand, educating, but then it sounds like, in some ways organizing, parents to be active proponents of the charter movement, but then also, just being intentional about their children's education in general. And so I say all that to say it's something that I think we would like to learn how to incorporate better, our strategies to engage with parents and get them involved. We serve, I think, a unique population to some extent, population that experiences a lot of poverty and also transience. And so I think that the strategies that we have been employing and will employ have to be tailored to those folks. And I think one way that I can see a direct partnership is for us to learn from you what some of those strategies might be. And I think there's a way we can do that could be mutually beneficial for both ILH and RISE. So those are my initial thoughts, but just want to say thank you, first of all, and then second of all, my wheels are turning in terms of how partnership could work. So yeah.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Tyler. Thank you. That's super helpful. And I defer to Monica and Alexander as the experts in parent engagement in this work. And we are happy to share any content or material that we use, or even just ILH parents that are kind of super parents, as I'm calling it, that are incredibly engaged, and just give that information as feedback to show you all who the most engaged parents are with us, so that you can tap into that and leverage that power.
Thank you, Jasmine. So to speak on that point a lot is you really hit on the transient nature of a lot of these families, and a lot of those transient families they tend to feel very disenfranchised. So the goal that I normally step out, or that we normally step out of the door with, is just to give these families an opportunity to feel empowered, to feel like they can do something, to feel like they have some sort of control. And though there may be a lot of outlying factors that really impact their lives that make them feel like they have less control, they have an absolute power, whether it be through the ballot, whether it be through showing up at a school board meeting, whether it be whatever it is, they have an absolute power of controlling their kids' education. So really our role as educator or as organizers is to inform them on what power they have, and then to empower them. That way they can step out and start making those decisions, start doing those things that really bring things together for them. So, each case is going to be different, kind of speaking on a broad spectrum here, but with each case, we have these conversations with each parent, figure out what the challenges and the successes are. and then we build from there. So, I mean, it's really important that we have contact and communication with every family. That way we can really engage them and teach them how to do best for their children.
Great, thank you very much. It's Paul Smith again. We have run out of the allotted time for you all, but we do appreciate you coming in and educating us about what it is that you do, and we look forward to a fruitful relationship in the future. Thank you very
Thank you,
much.
Paul.
You're
Thanks, Paul.
welcome.
Thanks, Alicia.
Thank you so much.
Thanks all.
Alicia, I'll ask you to jump back in and take over the next section of the meeting on the briefing and discussion items.
Great. I am going to share my screen. Okay, so hopefully you can all see that. All right. Can everybody see that?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, great.
Yes.
All right, so I'm going to try to move quickly through this. I did want to give some data updates. I mainly for the purposes of this meeting, I have mainly focused on our charter goals and our academic goals. So for our charter goals, one of the very first goals was that 85% of our students for 162 days would make 1 full year's growth in reading. We will have this data next week. We have a lot of the data already. We just don't have it all complete, but by next week, we will have given an end of year reading assessment to every student. I will share with you that most schools are not doing this. I didn't feel right about ending our school year and not getting a final assessment from our students. But to understand what we're doing with this is we're literally meeting with our students on a Zoom call, and we're giving them a link to an electronic book, and we're kind of asking them to like manage on their end, you know, that they're reading to us, and then we're scoring on the other end. So what we're finding is that e-learning has definitely caused a backslide in progress. And what we're also finding is that it's really hard to get valid results in a virtual setting with testing like that. Just a lot of factors with TVs on in the background or things going on that are just really distracting to the kids. So it's been tough, but we are going ahead and getting that information. Our second goal was that 95% of our students in 3rd grade and up would have an updated pathways plan by the end of the year. So the pathways plan is something that they do at the end of the year. In all honesty, this is something that there would have been no reason that we would not have been at 100% had our students been in school. This was a goal that honestly, when I looked at it, I thought, well, there's no way we won't meet that goal. But the participation that we've been getting in e-learning has been more around the 75% mark. So I'm a little bit worried that we won't reach 95% because we're in the e-learning environment. We did give the pathways plan early so that we can kind of bug some families to try to please get it turned in. But even with our reading assessments, we're finding that there are some families that just are not returning phone calls because they're choosing not to participate. So you really kind of get 2 camps. One camp that people are really gung-ho and really doing everything they need to with e-learning, and then we do have some families that are not engaging. Our 3rd goal was that 80% of parents will have family participation in at least 50% of the design thinking exhibitions. COVID-19 definitely put a damper in this one too. 2 of our design thinking exhibitions didn't happen this year because of COVID. Actually, the week that we got canceled, that week was one of our really big ones where the kids were going to go to the market and sell items, which didn't happen. And then we had one that was planned for May. So with what we had at the very beginning of the year, we had 46% of our families who attended at least 50% of the events. And when we say 50% of the events, we had 2 events that we had. Sorry, I'm letting somebody back into the meeting. There we go. All right. And please feel free to stop me if you have any questions at any point. Okay. Then we had, oh, now when I click, it's going. So sorry about that. All right. So by May of 2020, 75% of parents with students who have been enrolled 162 days will report that they agree or strongly agree that their students' ability to solve problems creatively has grown during the year. We put this out in a survey. So far, I'm sorry, that's supposed to have a decimal point. So it should say 94.7%. So far, we've had 19 families respond to the question, and out of those families, 94.7% agree or strongly agree with that statement. The other goal was that by May of 2020, 80% of staff will agree or strongly agree that they feel they were supported by a member of the leadership team through the school year. And we also put a survey out for that, and 100% of our teachers agreed. And then the last piece that I was going to share with you was 80% retention of students from the prior year. There are lots of different ways that you can look at this. So if you look at the students that we had on day one, we had 98 students on day one. We have 66 of those students still enrolled, and you can see the percentage there. The first count day was 117 students, and we currently have 74 of those students left. On second count day, we had 98 students, and we have 98 of those students still with us. And then, so out of all enrollments for the entire year, we had 176 students come in and out of the building. So that's at a 61%. And then as far as where we sit right now, we have 97% of our current students who intend to return next year.
So that 176, that's unduplicated, right?
Correct. That shows the transiency that we've had this year. Yeah. Yep. And then for academic goals, there's not a lot to share here because ILearn and Airways assessments were suspended due to COVID-19. So we don't have end of year data to show there. One of our goals was also that 66% of the students would pass iRead. Once again, that was another test that was suspended by the DOE. However, we gave a predictive assessment right before the school closure, and our predictive test was showing that we should have around 80% of our students passing. So I think we were very on track to meet that goal, but unfortunately we did not get to show the progress made because the test was canceled. All right. I also wanted to share with you all our insight survey data. And this is a survey that we've talked a lot about that was going to happen. It's a survey put out by TNTP. It is used nationwide. They rank charter schools by quartile. So if you're in that top quartile of schools, you typically are a more successful school. And so the Mind Trust actually paid for us to be able to participate in this. So the Instructional Culture Index is a summary measure of a school's instructional culture. Schools with strong index scores generally have strong student outcomes and typically retain more of their most effective teachers. So our index score was an 8.5, and that is out of 10. That 8.5 does put us in that above average category. Our index percentile rank was 86%. And just to remind everyone, this is a survey that you give anonymously to your teachers, and it ranks the school in many areas. Of 15 of the categories, ILH ranked at or well above the top quartile schools in the nation in 9 categories. So I thought that was really good for our first year. The positives too, we definitely saw a correlation between our highest scoring categories. They were very much in alignment with the focus that we had in year 1. And the areas that we're choosing to focus on moving into next year are around peer culture and instructional planning. Now, when you see peer culture, we have 100% staff retention this year. Our teachers have through multiple surveys expressed that they're very happy in the building. So the climate of our building is really good. The thing that stuck out within peer culture that caused our scores to be just a little bit lower was around really the fact that they're not getting the time to instructionally plan together. So those categories were definitely linked. So that's why we felt like we wanted to focus there. Another piece of it is this year there was a lot more, the planning that we were doing was more one teacher planning with Gabe, our director of academics. So there was a lot of planning going on, but there really wasn't that planning piece where we were having the teachers together planning. And another reason for that is being such a small staff of teachers, you typically only have one teacher teaching a subject within a grade level. So sometimes it's hard to get that peer collaboration piece in place. So I wanted to just, I did send you all the full report of our insight survey data that you can look through, and you can dig more into the specific questions that were asked, but this gives a really nice overview. The first column, these are our scores as a school by category. The second column is looking at Indianapolis charter school average. So you can compare where we were as opposed to what the average was. And then on the far right, what you're looking at is the national top quartile schools. So I think it's really great to see that in a lot of categories, we were ranking up above that national top quartile, which speaks a lot, I think, to the school culture that we have going on. So I'll give you all just a second to look at that a little deeper. And if anybody has any questions about that.
Hey, Alicia, it's Paul. Could you tell me again when these surveys took place?
Yeah, the teachers took the surveys, I think it was early March.
Okay.
So it was pretty far into the year. And in all honesty, if you know much about schools and the climate within a school, climate gets tough in February and March because testing's coming up. So that makes me honestly feel even better about these results, is that this really fell during one of those stressful times of the year. All right, anybody else have any questions about that? And I know that this is a piece, I know Tyler's going to talk about my evaluation in a little bit, and this is a piece that will be used for that as well. Okay, I also wanted to share out today some of our thoughts moving into the fall and a lot of the uncertainty that is in place regarding schools. If you've been following the news, you know that schools are closed through June 30th, school buildings, other than just essential business. Our teachers have been in and out of the building, some with some restrictions just to really get their rooms ready for next year and do some cleaning. But statewide schools are closed through June 30th. The governor did say that he most likely will not give direction around what's going to happen with schools until early July. That is really late for schools to come up with solid plans. So we are just trying to get on top of that. One of the first things that we've done is we have created 3 separate school calendars. I did send those to you all today. Honestly, there's not much to look at other than the start dates are very different, which then does change some of the breaks just a little bit. So my hope is that we open on July 27th, which was the approved calendar. We did create a second calendar that proposes that we open on August 17th, which gives an additional 3 weeks. We have another calendar that would start us September 8th after Labor Day. I think these 3 calendars really would be us also watching very closely to see what other Indianapolis schools are doing, and kind of follow the lead. Obviously, we would be paying attention to what IPS is going to do, given that they're the largest school district. But we do have those calendars prepped and ready. We're also looking at 3 different learning models. Our typical brick and mortar. Now, with the typical brick and mortar, we obviously have to think through what are the cleaning protocols, what are the health regulations, and I do know that the Department of Education is coming out with a full manual to give schools guidance around that. So I'm not really doing a lot of research in that area because I know that there's guidance that will be given to us. The second model would be to continue with our e-learning. We don't plan to change a lot with the way we've been doing e-learning because we don't want to confuse our families. So other than a few minor tweaks, we would continue with the framework around e-learning that we've already built. The third model, which we will be building out more of a framework around, we have not done that yet. We've more or less just thought through some of the smaller details, is that there could be the potential that the state would say schools have to practice certain social distancing guidelines within a school, which could cause us to maybe not be able to have all of the students in the school building at one time. If that were the case, we would do this model, which we've been referring to it as a hybrid model, which would essentially mean that on Monday and Tuesday, there would be a certain group of students that would come to school. And on Thursday and Friday, there would be another set of students, the other half of the students would come to school. On the days that they were not attending school, they would be doing e-learning at home. What that would mean for our teachers, though, is that for every lesson they're teaching, they would be producing a video for the kids that are at home learning. And then they would also be then during school teaching the lessons in front of the students. That would mean a lot of additional work on teachers. So that's why we felt like Wednesdays would be just a day with no students. And that would be typically it's a half day anyway. And teachers would be able to then catch up on their videos that they would have to make the model work. So that's a quick overview of what that would mean. And that we were also looking at the option that, there could potentially be a transition back and forth between the different models. It's very possible that we could open and then they put us back on e-learning for a while, depending on if there's a spike with the virus. So I think that's another piece that we have to be thinking about. I'll stop there for any input, feedback, questions.
Alicia, I have a question for you. Paul Smith here. This whole thing caught all of us by surprise. And, here you are in the midst of trying to build a school in the first place. Then you have this thing hit. One of the things you had to worry about almost immediately was making sure that the kids out there had the proper hardware, software, and bandwidth to be able to do e-learning. I know you went out on an emergency basis and bought a bunch of hardware for the kids. Can you kind of tell me how we're doing with all of that? Are all of the kids, literally 100% of the kids, able to e-learn at this point?
So at this point, I think all of our students have what they need to do e-learning. We just have about 20 to 25% of families who've chosen not to engage. And we do have another percentage of families who've engaged some, but not fully. I do think we were given CARES Act money, and we are getting ready to write that grant next week. I believe it was an additional around like $83,000. I'm assuming that we will set a portion of that aside to assist with those types of things if necessary. If we need more technology, if we have situations where we potentially have to buy internet for a family or hotspots or do anything like that. But yes, we've been doing everything we have to make sure that they're set up to participate in e-learning.
Let me back up. You said 25% of the parents chose not to do what?
That's a rough number. I would say we've got about 20 to 25% of students not participating in e-learning.
Well, what does that mean? How are they getting the learning?
They're not. They're choosing not to. So I'm going to be honest with you. So we have built in a check person for every family. So we are calling every week. We're sending feedback written every week. We are communicating nonstop with families, but we have a few families who they're choosing not to do e-learning. They're just.
I don't ask these questions as a criticism. I'm simply asking from the standpoint of when it comes to student count. Well, I mean, it seems like to me, if I'm at home and I'm not doing any learning whatsoever, how can I possibly be counted as a full-fledged student for count purposes?
Well, because of the situation, the state is not doing anything yet with our counts. So I know that's up for discussion right now. They're even talking about potentially just freezing the count, like for the fall. So I don't know what that's going to mean. I know.
All right.
And
Wow.
can maybe I can step in and just provide a little bit more clarity, Paul, because I know that at least the way IPS is doing it is there are no updates for grades in Q4. So students in IPS, at least, could literally do nothing in the fourth quarter and just have the same grade that they did in the third 9 weeks. But they have the opportunity to increase their grade across the fourth 9 weeks should they actually participate. And so that's how IPS is doing it. And it does make you scratch your head. But that's all to say, the fact that I think we are really doing due diligence and trying to kind of pull families with us to be involved is a really good thing. And anyway, I wanted to share that because the teachers that I know in IPS have been scratching their heads.
Tyler, I appreciate that clarification. I'm just thinking about looking forward and what's going to convince the 25% next year to get more involved. And my guess is not much.
Yeah, that's why I'm going to be honest. I am hoping and praying that we are back in school, brick and mortar, because that's what our families and our students really need. I will tell you that we did continue to give students grades on their assignments. We are not holding it against students as far as like retention goes. We're not going to retain students based on not participating in e-learning. We are giving them grades based on it. And we are also placing a note on all report cards, just documenting the situation and saying that some of the grades or lack of grades may not be a true indication of where the student is because of the situation.
Alicia, I know you said that there'll be some guidance on, protocols coming back into the school that will be given to you, but is there any, I'm just preparing our offices right now for a return to the office. And we're experiencing a number of challenges. Are you worried about things like soap and hand sanitizer and spray bottles, which are near impossible to find right now? And I just wonder how you guys are kind of thinking about that, preparing for that.
So honestly, I have kind of received some assistance from my husband on that a lot. He has, for his company, been they've actually been making their own hand sanitizer and doing some various things like that. And so I'm not too worried about it because I know that he can assist with that. And if we we can't just order it, then we will make some. So not too worried, but I have had Josh going ahead and thinking about ordering some masks, and another thing is if we can't get the masks that we need, there could be protocol come out from DOE stating that teachers have to wear masks while they're teaching. I'm not sure. If that's the case, we could also have some made. I know some people who are making masks.
Yeah,
So
Alicia, Zach here. If you need help soliciting those kinds of donations, I've done a lot of that for Dove House. So and Serve Indy is a really good organization who's making face masks for essential workers. They made stuff. So it's SEW, So and Serve Indy. I'm sure we could reach out to them. And then I actually just picked up hand sanitizer today, Sugar Creek Sanitation. They're being awesome. Like they reached out to me. I didn't even reach out to them, and they're donating hand sanitizer through the entire pandemic. And they're like, if you run out, like just let us know and we'll get you more. So I'm sure we could coordinate something. Patrick over there, he's awesome. I just met him today because I picked it up on behalf of Dove House. But I can help you get innovative there for, you know, kind of the essential items that we need.
That's great.
And
Yeah.
Alicia, Jasmine Ray, an ILH parent, she is making masks right now, and she's a part of some coalition that's making masks for the National Guard and places like that. So she might also be someone that you would want to talk to.
That's a good idea.
Alicia, also the state of Indiana just released an application, I want to say last week. It might be on the Indy Chamber's website for different organizations. You can apply through them depending on your employee size and your student size, and they'll send you free stuff. We just got 100 face masks, shields, and gallons of hand sanitizer. I can send you the link after the call.
Oh yeah, that'd be great. Thank you.
Yeah, I saw that also, Kia.
Yeah. And it happens really quick too. We got ours like in 3 days.
Yeah, that's awesome. I wouldn't have anticipated it working that efficiently, so that's good to hear.
That's great. I didn't know about that. We are continuing on to some degree with our summer programming. We have a partnership with Southeast Community Services. We received a grant that was around $20,000. Well, they received a grant to support the program, but it was around $20,000. So what we've ultimately decided is that we will continue virtually. Families will receive boxes for their projects weekly, as well as food. And then the students will be able to participate virtually in this camp environment. We will serve around 30 to 35 students. We will have 2 to 3 of our teachers planning the videos and the lessons and supervising the camp. And then there will be 3 staff members from Southeast a part of that as well. And they're really acting more as support staff to the camp. So we've been meeting with them regularly, and we're getting ready to roll out the applications next week. So not what we had envisioned for our summer camp, but we will still be providing that as an option for families. I wanted to give a quick update on a potential tenant that we've been in communication with. I think they've really been holding off just to see what's going to happen with the COVID-19 situation, if they're even going to be able to have programming for next year. So they are still interested. We are in the stage of a preliminary lease being drafted, and we're still trying to work out and negotiate what that would look like. The plan, we just met this week. We're going to meet again in 2 weeks. We're going to include the board chair from each of our boards to really kind of talk through those terms a little bit more. And then the goal is that we will have a drafted lease. And then as of July 1, once the state has given more direction on what's happening with schools, and then they have a better idea of what's happening with their fall programming, then they'll make the decision as to what they want to do. Paramount is moving out. Their actual move day is June 30th. That's the last day of their lease. I've done walkthroughs with them. They have everything packed up and labeled. We did a walkthrough just to discuss like some minor repairs that need to happen and some furniture that they're leaving in the building. We'll do another walkthrough in mid-June for that. Any questions about that?
Alicia, Paul Smith again. You know, rather than reinventing the wheel, why don't you go ahead and use the lease you have with Paramount and just, you know, change the parties?
We could potentially, yeah, the terms are very, very different, but yes. I asked Adam if he could just go ahead and send us like a template. So maybe he could just take some of the wording out of that one and then send it over.
Well, yeah, that's fine. It just seems like to me, we went through all the trouble of getting that one negotiated. I can't imagine it'd be that much different, but that's okay. Whatever you think.
Yeah, I'm happy to use that one as a template though, for sure. Oh, hang on. Sorry, we've got somebody joining. Sometimes it takes a minute to get that to work. All right, so I wanted to also give you a quick recruitment update. So our budget, Trevor's going to talk about in a little bit, is based on 130 students moving into next year. 150 was really more our original goal, but due to the COVID-19 situation, we have adjusted that down just to be on the safe side. Currently, we have 104 of our students who are saying that they will be returning for next year. We had 14 students in round 1 of the lottery. We currently have 30. Have any questions about the executive report before we move on? Okay, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. All right, looks like you're up next, Paul.
Lisa, can you throw up that one 19 standards that we're being judged on? It was in that email you sent last week. If you could pop that up.
Sure, let me find it and then I'll share my screen.
Thank you. So quarterly, the board chair has a check-in with Ariana Martin, who is our liaison with the mayor's charter school office. I think the last time I think we visited at a coffee shop, this time it was virtual. She basically shared with me that we're being graded on 19 standards. I don't remember seeing these the last time, but what Alicia's going to pull up here in a second are the 19 standards, the Q1 rating and the Q2 rating. I'm going to hold on just for a second now until it gets up. Otherwise, what I'm going to tell you is not going to make any sense.
Sorry, guys. You know, when you want to find something, it's always gonna.
It was the last item on that email as far as the
here we go.
attachments are concerned.
I think I've got it. I think sometimes when you're on Zoom, your computer slows down a bit.
David C's just come in.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, Paul, it's not looking good.
Okay. All right. It's okay. All right. Well,
sorry.
You all were sent this I think it was the last set of emails and attachments from Alicia maybe a week or so ago, maybe even earlier this week. I can't remember.
It was on Monday. Yep.
Monday. Okay. But again, you'll see listed the 19 standards. You'll see Q1 ratings, Q2 ratings. As best we can tell, there are 4 rating standards. One is above standard, which is the AS. Another one is the meets standard, which is the MS. There's a TBD, to be determined. And then finally, a did not meet standard. In all 19 categories, we either stayed the same or got better in the second quarter, except for item percent on time cap compliance. And that was, we got a did not meet standards. And I asked her specifically what that was. And I was told that it had to do with our board minutes. And then in checking with Alicia, I found out that the board minutes she's looking at were board minutes from maybe the fourth quarter of 2019. And since then, Kirsten's completely redone those to match with what it is the mayor's office wants. So we've resubmitted board meetings to them to have them look at that, and hopefully we'll get that item corrected. Nevertheless, I was told by the lady from the mayor's office that we're doing very well. Any marks that we currently have, we have the ability to make those better in the third quarter. So I just want to say overall, we're doing very, very well, and appreciate Alicia and staff for the work that they're doing, because we need to keep in the good graces of the charter school. There will come a time, Alicia, and I don't remember how long, I've asked this question a couple of times and I've forgotten the answer each time you told me, but there'll come a time when we have to go back down to the mayor's office and basically attest to what we've been doing for the last, is that like 3 years out, 4 years out? What is that?
I think it's 7 unless you're, there's a reason that they want you to do it early. Maybe you're not showing progress. Then
no, we don't want that. We don't want that. But in any event, so it's just really helpful to start off with great grades rather than start off with terrible grades and try to build those up. So at least that's the way it was for me in college. So anyway, I want to thank everyone for the hard work they're doing, because these 19 standards include teachers, students, board members, and whatnot. So that's really all I had on that, Lisa. Thank you.
I will add, so we reached back out to just say, hey, can you look at our new minutes? And she said it pretty much looked good, but there was one thing that she said she wanted us to start documenting, like if a board member asks a question and then how I respond and what that back and forth interaction is. She wants to see more of that, because it really just documents the oversight that the board is providing to our school. So I think that was what.
I've basically been typing almost everything everyone says today, so I hope that gets it.
Thank you. All right, it look like Tyler, you're up next. I didn't know if you still wanted some time to talk through some of the.
Yeah, thank you. So just wanted to give everybody an update on the evaluation. Obviously, what Paul just shared is the external evaluation, which is incredibly important from the perspective of keeping our charter. That's the evaluation that comes from our authorizer, and it's the evaluation that's reported publicly, and it will be linked on the OEI website. At least in the past, they've always done that. And so that's actually a really good tool for when parents are checking ILH out. Oftentimes, if they are, maybe they've met with RISE previously and they're educated a little bit about, where to find different data sources, they might go to the OEI website and say, hey, what's ILH all about? They'll be able to access OEI's evaluation of us. Now, what I'm going to talk to you about is our internal evaluation, which is a little different, right? When we first set out to do an internal evaluation, it was roughly based on those things that the external evaluation looks at. So the good news is we can kind of anticipate how our internal evaluation is going to go based on what OEI looked at. And what that means is, I think the evaluation, from my perspective, especially given the fact that a lot has changed, is really going to be more focused on identifying maybe areas in the first half of the year where there are areas of improvement, but then really just helping Alicia to understand what her leadership team, how they're feeling and how they're thinking about the school's progress and success. And then I hope it'll be a tool to help implement some of the things that Alicia shared in terms of what school is going to look like in the fall. I wanted to share with you on first is the evaluation is going to consist of a lot of the data that Alicia shared today. So in her executive report, all of that information is going to be kind of aggregated and then put into kind of a report format so that the whole board can review it all together. We'll be able to sit down with Alicia either at a board meeting, but possibly at a meeting that's just focused on the evaluation, where we can ask questions and we can discuss strengths, weaknesses, have a lot of time to just kind of bounce ideas off of, what are ways that we can improve this or that, or why did our numbers turn out this way, or whatever. And so the good news is a lot of that data is already collected. right? So Alicia's done a really incredible job, and team, I know, not just Alicia. I think, you know, the leadership team has done a really good job of getting all that information together. The piece that we don't have is we're going to be sitting down, and by we, I mean committee members from the governance committee. Once we're able to figure out schedules, we're going to be sitting down with leadership at ILH to just run through a series of questions about, you know, their perspective on the school, on Alicia's leadership, their vision for what the school can do in the future to continue to serve kids at a high level, and potentially, you know, even expand the way that we're serving kids. And so we'll take that information, the answers to those questions, and again, add that to the report. Those interviews haven't been set up yet, and that falls on me. Honestly, I've just been totally swamped with the way life has changed. It's changed in a lot of really great ways, but one way it's changed is I'm just really busy, strangely, at my house, sitting in front of my computer. I'm sure that everybody's in the same boat. So we will get those scheduled, and that'll be included in the report. And then the last thing, and I think that this is where the action item is for board members. So when we do have that meeting with Alicia to run through the full evaluative report that will again incorporate all the data that she shared today, incorporate all of the anecdotal responses from our leadership team members. We will also have a component of like a question and answer type time. And I'm going to draft a list of potential questions that we could ask. And I'm going to circulate it to all board members. And what I would like board members to do is just to provide feedback on that list, to add questions to the list if there are some that aren't incorporated previously. And then the idea is, you know, maybe we don't run through all those questions during our evaluation session with Alicia, but it's a good starting point, right? And maybe for each of our specific areas of interest on the board, you know, there might be questions on that list that, you know, you feel like you want to own because, you know, as you are focused on, you know, design and marketing for ILH or curriculum development for ILH or finance for ILH, you know, you might have specific questions that you want to dig into with Alicia and the rest of the board. So that's pretty much all I have. Just, I guess, excuse me, we just wanted to provide an update on where things are at. Like I said, Alicia's done an incredible job of collecting all that data. We have great signals externally from our evaluation from OEI, and I think it's a really positive thing considering all the circumstances that ILH has dealt with this year. And you know, more to come after we have those interviews with leadership within ILH. I think, again, the only next step that you all need to worry about is I will be circulating that list of questions. Please just take a look at it, provide any feedback, add questions to it, and that'll be our kind of jumping off point for when we actually have our sit down with Alicia. Now, our evaluation is actually due in July. Alicia, do you know what date it is?
Actually, it's June 30th.
June 30th. I don't know why I had July in my head, but so it's June 30th. So that's like a little less than 2 months from now. I guess it's like a month and a half from now. I'm being a little too optimistic. So all of this will take place in the next month and a half, which means that at some point next month, we will have the sit down evaluation with Alicia so that we can have kind of a final report that we can submit to OEI. But that's pretty much all I have. So keep an eye out for that list, please. Provide any feedback, any thoughts, any additions are welcome. And then we'll go from there. We'll get the evaluation scheduled for sometime either late this month or next month. Okay.
Tyler, thank you for your work on this. Really appreciate it. I think you referenced it, but make sure, I'd love to be a part of the meeting with the senior leadership team at ILH. I want them, you know, just to see as many of us as they can. So I don't know who all you had planned to be there, but please add me to the list. I'd love to be a part of that.
Will do.
So I know, Tyler, you're having the meeting with the leadership team. And then you're having a meeting where board members can ask me questions. So that would be more of kind of like an executive session. So will that be something you just schedule and invite everyone to, or should they let you know?
Well, so as I was saying that, and in the back of my head, I was thinking, I wonder how open door law would apply to that specific situation. I think if it's an executive session, I mean, we would be able to ask those questions in a way that we could have a private conversation, which I think would be the appropriate setting, probably. So I think you're absolutely right. It does need to be an executive session. So,
Tyler, do you want me to reach out to the mayor's office and get that clarified for us?
I think that would be really helpful, Paul, because I think
Happy to.
we're obviously not trying to hide anything at all.
No.
But there are some conversations that are just appropriate to have internally. And so that's what we would like to do in whatever format is allowed, I guess. So
I'll get that email out tonight. I'll have an answer hopefully for you tomorrow. Okay. Or if not tomorrow, certainly by Monday. All right. Because
Okay.
time is of the essence. You're right. As you were fumbling around there trying to figure out what the dates are. Tomorrow's the 15th of May.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I
we
know.
got it's 45 days. So.
Yep.
Right.
Thank you. And once we have that number, I'm assuming that they'll come back and say, this is the number of people that you could have in an executive session. Then we'll just have to make a decision on who all makes sense to be in that meeting. Okay.
Excellent. Thank you.
Cool.
All right. So Tyler, you're up, huh? No, Trevor. I'm sorry. Trevor's up for the budget. Sorry.
Am I able to share my screen, Alicia?
You should be able to down at the bottom.
Awesome. As long as it works.
Looks like it works from my end.
Yep.
So you could see the spreadsheet.
Yes.
Great. So wanted to talk through the current, not the spreadsheet. Current budget to actuals as of today that I just pulled, looking at where we currently stand. So Alicia has and I don't know if you've made everyone else aware on the call, but we did receive the payroll protection money, which was, I think, $139,000 that we have deposited.
Yes.
Okay. So that's going to be included in these numbers as well. So that could be why we're about $176,000 as of today over our budget for revenue. $139,000 of that's obviously going to be from that payroll protection money. Expenses throughout the year, we're obviously under budget on our expenses, but we'll probably hit right around that amount that we've had budgeted for the year. So we're ending the year in a solid financial position going into next year. I just wanted to make everyone aware, and I'm going to send out these 3 tabs once I'm done here. So does anyone have any specific questions in regards to any of the revenue or expenses? I know these are high level categories, but if you want more detail, we can get that for you. So on this tab, again, this is just the statement of activity and general categories. And then I'm going to start with actually, before getting into this here, I mean, we're still looking at, like Alicia was saying, the 130 kits for next year. So we have to take into consideration that if we don't meet the enrollment, we're going to have to adjust moving forward. So looking at next year's budget, I kind of simplified the categories here a little bit to where our income is a little bit less than our expenses. So we're going to take a hit of about 73,000 or 78,000. I forget what exactly that number is, which our starting cash flow for the year is about 400,000. So we'll still be fine moving forward. So this is the CARES Act money that Alicia was referencing, that 83,910. That is new that we are receiving. And these are the high level categories of the expenses. So the instructional expenses, that's the teachers, their supplies, the admin expenses, that's Alicia, and some other expenses in there. Facilities, that includes the debt service payment for the building, and technology is about 42,000 in the other expenses category. And that is broken down on this 20-21 budget summary tab to where you could see the enrollment by grade, and going through here, again, the income, and then just those detailed expenses, a little bit more broken out by category. So really high level, we're not increasing the budget tenfold. And again, I'll send this out so everyone can have a copy and look at it. Does anyone have any specific questions or questions in general?
I have a question in general. This could be the $1 million question, though. Is there the potential for future stimulus or federal dollars, depending on how long this goes on, or do you just take it, you know, a month by month or day by day?
Well, the CARES Act money was because of COVID-19, and the payroll protection loan that we received that will turn into a grant. That's what both of those were because of. Now, I don't know what's going to happen moving forward, but Brian does fear that moving forward, they could potentially take some budget money away from education because of the financial situation. So we'll see how that goes. But I mean, technically, yes, we've already received the 139,000 and then plus the 83,000 to support with the COVID-19 situation, which is really nice for us. I think the biggest effect for us is the fact that we can't really get out and do recruitment like we usually do. So that's the fear. I will share with all of you, I think this is good information to know. I've had a couple meetings with Brian just to try to solidify the budget. He was not happy with where our end of year cash balance was going to end at the end of next school year. He was concerned about that. So I asked him, I said, where do you want us to be? So he gave us a number. I shaved off one more staffing position, and I reallocated a lot of funding in our CSP budget for next year. And I was able to get us a cash balance that he felt comfortable with the end of next year. So
Alicia, are those adjustments included in what Trevor's just spent the last 10 minutes talking about?
yes.
So when Trevor said accurately that the ending cash amount at the end of the next school year is going to be $76,000 less than what we started with, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. But originally it would have been far less.
Well, no, that's fine. And I'm really appreciative of the fact that you were able to do what you did, but you understand that shaving off $75,000 of cash on an annual basis is not sustainable.
Absolutely. Yes.
And your comment about we don't know what's going to happen as far as education money couldn't be more accurate. You know, this whole thing that's going on, I don't have to tell anybody on this particular call, but this is going to have ramifications on down the line. You know, I don't know where most of the money that that we get, is that federal money or is it state money or is it a combination of the two?
So the CARES Act, that was going to be federal, and then actually both of them are federal that you've received thus far.
But how about the monies that we get generally speaking, Alicia? And forgive me for not knowing the answer to the question, but I don't want to guess.
That's state money.
Yeah.
And I think that's the portion that could potentially, that Brian is afraid of potentially getting adjusted or cut back a little bit.
So I'm not asking anybody to jump off the ledge. All I'm simply saying is let's keep our eyes on that, because it could be incredibly impactful going down the road.
And that 78,000, I mean, that is about half of what even this year's impact. I think we were budgeting for what, 150,000 or so dollar decrease in our cash balance at the end of the year. So getting the CARES Act money and Alicia
Yeah.
making these adjustments moving forward has put herself in a better financial position.
Yeah, and Paul, what you just said was exactly what Brian said too. He was like, yes, this is going to put you where you need to be in a cash balance, state at the end of next year. But the bottom line is like, we can't sustain on this. Like, we have to get enrollment up. So absolutely.
Yeah. Brian's an active accountant and I'm a recovering accountant. So we kind of think the same way. Yeah.
Yeah. And this document, I believe, was shared, the draft budget. So you could open that document and you could see anything that's highlighted in this greenish color. That's going to be that CSP money that Alicia was referring to.
Yeah, and I don't think it's written. I'm not sure if it's written into. We did just receive. Oh, it's another 15 to 20,000 for our like Title II, Title IV. There were several grants that because we were a brand new school, we didn't receive them in the fall, and now we're getting all of that money now. So those things will help a little bit too.
Would you like me to pull up the 5-year forecast?
Any?
I'll go ahead and open it.
The budget does have to be approved by June 30. So I think the thinking was we could share it with the board now, get feedback. The finance committee is hopefully going to meet soon. And then at our next board meeting, we need to approve our budget.
Yeah, the only thing that I'm thinking with this, and I know that it's already been said, but I just want to reiterate, when I heard you say earlier that our enrollment goal is 130 for next year, it gave me a little bit of pause because we're kind of handcuffed in a way in terms of our ability to recruit new families. But, in times of trouble, sometimes it's a chance for new inspiration. And so I want to put the full weight of the board behind you, Alicia, for us to make these numbers work. I think that, anything and everything that you need to hit that 130 number, we want to be there for you because I think that's going to be the key. So I just wanted to share that. And I think maybe it needs to be unsaid, or maybe it doesn't need to be said, but I just wanted to share, the board is at your service in making sure that we hit that number.
I appreciate that. And I will say that we've been meeting regularly about every 2 weeks. Our recruitment team, which Natalie and Cece sit on that. And they've been awesome with giving great ideas. I know Cece has offered her talents, putting together flyers and door hangers. And so that's been really, really, really helpful. And I don't remember if we shared it last board meeting, but we are working with a group now called Enroll Hand, where we're paying them to help with the social media marketing piece. And then when they get leads for families, they actually set up the calls with us. So we're paying for a recruitment service to kind of help with the current situation.
So
Okay.
if anyone doesn't have further questions, I would like
Let's
to.
move on. Thank you, Trevor. Thank you very much. Yeah, this is besides the secretary's job. I'm not sure which of the two of your jobs is the most difficult. But thank you for your efforts.
It's not mine.
Well, Alicia, can you jump into the action items, please?
Absolutely. So that we were not way over on our time for our board meeting, I did send all of these items to the board members ahead of time. I have 3 board members that I need to get background checks for, and I sent those out to you, so you should have seen that. I need to get an updated resume from every board member, and these are all items that I have to turn into OEI. So if everybody could send those back to me. I know it's never fun to update your resume, but we also sent out a board self-evaluation piece. I'm going to compile that data and we can use it next month at our meeting, but that's another action item that's due to OEI. And then also we have to sign off, all board members have to sign off on the open door law. So if everybody could go ahead and sign that and get it sent as well, that would be great. And Trevor, do you mind to unshare? Thank you. So yeah, everything is linked in the document. Everybody should have received these through an email. Does anybody have any questions or anything about these items?
Alicia, this is Kia. I do. On the sheet that you sent to update all of our information, it said that I had to request access. It wouldn't let me type in there. Do you want me just to email that to you?
Oh yeah. If you
I did request the access, but I don't know if
you know, I didn't see it. I tell you what, just if you want to text me the email that you want to have access to it,
okay.
I'll just add that email. And then once you guys update your information in that document, I'm going to go back to our calendar invites and our email list, and I'm going to try to make sure all of your correct emails are in there. I know many of you have changed jobs and sometimes your correct email is not on there, so I'll try to update everything.
And I also didn't see the self-evaluation attached. I saw the assurance form. Oh, wait a minute, is this it?
I saw it on there.
Is it the CDC? Oh, wait, I see it, sorry.
Yeah, it's honestly, it's just a checklist. And if you just each go through and check off where you think we are on those different items, I think we could definitely use that as a planning piece going forward for next year. But it will also meet that requirement that every board member did a self-evaluation of the board.
So if I cannot really evaluate a certain item, can I just check not applicable?
Yeah, that's fine. Yep.
So Alicia, you ready to move on to the subcommittees?
Absolutely.
Trevor, do you want to add anything else beyond what you've already done? Trevor?
We will be meeting soon, but would we like to move the budget to a vote this month or next
Why
month?
not? Why not? Is everybody prepared to vote? I am. Why don't you, I'll make a motion that we vote to approve the budget. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right. All those, Alicia, can we do this? Can I ask if all those in favor say aye? Are you going to be able
I
to?
think I have to do a roll call.
That's right. Thank you. You're absolutely right. So will you please
So
do the
give
roll
me,
call,
give
Madam
me a second to
Secretary?
get everyone's name back up here.
Well, you're on
This is a
top.
very active job I've learned.
Probably harder virtually than it is in person too.
I know. All right, Paul Smith made the motion.
Right.
Trevor, you made the second. All right, Alicia.
She can't vote.
No, she can't vote.
I don't think I vote, but
Sorry, you're second on my attendees list.
Sorry
Tyler.
about that.
Aye.
Natalie.
Yes.
I am gonna vote yes. Zachary.
Yay.
Paul Whitmore.
Okay.
Megan.
Aye.
Amber.
Yes.
Kia.
Yes, sorry.
I was gonna say she nailed yes.
Cece.
Yes.
And Young Buck.
Aye.
All right, that should be everyone.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Is that all, Trevor? That's a lot. Are you done? Okay, Tyler.
Yes.
Anything else on governance?
Nothing else.
Perfect. Alicia, academic excellent. Anything else?
no.
Facilities, I don't have anything else to add. Zachary, how about development?
No reports here.
Okay, well, that takes us to the end. Alicia, do you have anything else?
Wow, we made it on time. I thought we were going to go over tonight.
Yeah, let me just take, if I could, just about 30 seconds just to say something to the board. You know, it's not lost on me that these are very difficult times anyway. And we've been charged with the responsibility of putting together a school. We started a long time ago with practically nothing, and now we've actually built it into something that's living, breathing, and there are a lot of parents and a lot of kids that depend on us. You know, back when I was working on the Twin Air project, I remember somebody said to me, when it comes to problem solving, first it's impossible, and then it's difficult, and then it's done. And clearly, I think we're in the difficult period right now. We're in that period of time where you're putting in the time, you're doing the work, it's hard work, and you say to yourself, man, will this ever get better? And the answer is yes, it will. It won't ever get to a point where there's nothing to do, but I think as we get further along, I think some of the decisions will be easier. Anyway, I just want to say thank you. Thank you to each and every one of you. I'm so proud of you, of the work that you're doing. And if you just think about it for a second, you're making a difference in the lives of some kids and some parents, and that's got to feel pretty darn good. I hope all of you sleep better at nighttime. That's it.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate everything. Have
All
a good
right,
night.
we're done. The meeting's adjourned.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye, guys.
Bye.